to write paying live stream. Right, got it. So nice to Shitoli. You got nice weather than what we have. A nice shrine. You're indoors. Why are you indoors?
It's an hour later here, so it's getting dark already.
It's now later. Dark. Okay. I just have to turn off the. Right. Oh, wait a second. Something wrong over here. Right. Okay. We're up to Lamadala from what's based. Nice to see you, Ben. Where have you been away?
No, I wish it. I'm sorry because
Friday and Thursday. We were Thursday. I can't remember. Maybe Thursday. What's that shot? I don't remember. Okay, we need a note signed by both parents and you had last time. You're going away next week, won't you? London.
Internet there?
change of scenery.
They have internet in London. They probably haven't heard of the word yet.
Well, I've been back since I've got 5 years.
That's Moishe.
Yeah, where is he? I don't know where he is. Okay.
It's coming.
The last thing we were discussing is, according to Rabbi Yehuda, does the esrog have to be hodah? That was the real question we were discussing. So we're up to Toshma, which is 5 lines from the end of the narrow lines on Lamed Aleph from the base. Very, very important halachas, because they're all, Mr. Hashem, you're going to be spending hundreds, thousands of pounds on your hour minimum, right? Hundreds or thousands. I mean hundreds.
Hundreds of thousands.
No, I didn't mean hundreds of thousands. Hundreds or thousands of pounds. So, well.
Everybody, then, yeah.
Okay. So you want to know what to look out for.
Thank you very much.
So Toshma, Shiru esrog cotton. What's the smallest esrog? The ego is has to be the size of a nut. A to the size of an egg. So actually here they've actually showed you a picture. S the size of a nut, S the size of an egg. Not very hard to imagine it yourself. Now the Gemara haven't understood that what's the machlokes. Machlokes is in hodah is a vayid. You need hodah. La mishum the boy hodah. You need hodah. Lo mishum the go on pay. It's got to do with the fact that anything smaller than that is not real fruit. It's not finished. It's a non-complete fruit. Therefore you can't use it. I want to go 2 minutes about this egg business. We pass does have to be the size of a nut of an egg. Anybody know? Egg. Well, Machmed has to be the size of an egg. Mamir Rabbi Yehuda, we always pass like Rabbi Yehuda. Why do we always pass like Rabbi Yehuda? Anybody know? Very interesting. Very good. The Meir was so brilliant that we could never understand him, so we can't pass him like him. Interesting. As Ben said correctly. Okay. Now, you all know the tzlach, the very famous tzlach. What does the tzlach say? That all eggs of nowadays are half the size of the eggs of Chazak. What's the size of an average egg of today? That's quite hard. Very good. 45 to 50 cc's, machlokes. Around 45 to 50 cc, cubic centimeters. If the eggs, that's nowadays eggs. Since they're halved, so how big does the esrog need to be? 100 cc. Says the Chazon Ish that he has found that when you buy an esrog, every day it loses a tiny amount of volume, especially if you hold it. He reckons at least 10%. At least 10% says Chazon Ish. Altogether. So how big would you want your esrog to be?
110.
Now, very good. 110 cc. 110 cc. That is, in fact, I started to mention before by Rabbanim and they would have. Now, 110 cc is very difficult because 110 cc is in volume and we need weight. And now, what do you think weighs more, an esrog or water?
Water.
Yes, water weighs ever so slightly more. That's right. Water weighs more than an esrog. That's right. I'm just getting clear in my mind. Water weighs more. The kitzur, if you've got an esrog that weighs 110 grams, you're okay. But if it only weighs 80 or 90, you've got many shittahs that say it's okay. You've got Chaim Noah that holds okay. You've got all the people that argue that tzlach and say the eggs haven't come half the size that say it's okay. But you've got those who say it's no good. And anybody who's spending, if you're going to spend £100 on esrog, and you find that it weighs 80 grams, you'll be very disappointed because you've got, according to the Chazon Ish, he holds the back of the tzlach, you've really not got yourself a kosher esrog. I hope that everybody followed that whole cheshbon. We'll come to it maybe another time. So what happened was, as I said, these people come up with these scales, and you should know that the really, really nice esrog was sometimes quite small. And sometimes there'll be less than 110 grams, and there are people going back. We'll discuss it more another time. I just want to bring up some of the topics. What? I know in England they're not as machmir. And I saw people would spend hours with all of this, and they would weigh the esrog. So-
make my Pesach scales that I bought specially.
Oh, for
Can I
Succas.
take them in the clips?
Usually, most of the Succa are more than 110 grams. So most of the Succa, there's a small one. Especially if you get a nice Moroccan Succa, then you get really big ones, geschmacka big ones. Okay. Tell Shema, another halacha regarding how big an Succa, what's the biggest? Buddha holds, you have to be able to hold two esrogim in one hand. That's this picture over here, holding two esrogim in one hand. You don't even need a picture for this. Even if it takes two people, even if two hands to hold one Succa, can you see this picture? Now, I once been to North Kedumim, I have to tell you, it's a park in there, it's a soul, costs a fortune to go in, about 25, about £5 per person to go in. I once treated my children to go in, and they've got their fascinating plants. They've got all the plants that are mentioned in the whole of Tanakh. Isn't that amazing? Every single plant that's mentioned in the whole of Tanakh. So they've got the esrogim, which are so big that you cannot carry them in one hand. Huge esrogim, massive esrogim. And that's the halacha. The lemaisa we hold that's kosher actually to have very big esrog. But we'll come to it more another time. Discuss it more another time. The question is more this time, the stage of more, what's the most kasha? That's got to the hodor. My time and look, kivadom alabelula beam in the esrog with the lulav should be in your right and the esrog in the left. Everybody know why the lulav should be in your right and the esrog in the left?
It's opposite you guys.
What? Why lulav on the right?
It's fine and me.
Okay, so what? Why should the right hand's more important than the left hand?
Oh, 3-1. 3
What?
minutes. It's got 3 minutes together.
Oh, 3-1. Very good. Rashi says like you. Look at Rashi, third line from the top. He doesn't quote you, Tolly. I'm sorry. He says we should have ochet last mitzvahs, esek chad mitzvahs, 3-1. The lulav, you got the das and the avos and the lulav. That's 3. The esek is only 1. 3-1. You put to the right. Okay, but nice the halacha is you have to hold one on the right, one on the left. Now, if you got a massive esek and you pick it up, and suddenly you realize, oh yeah, I picked up the wrong hand. I picked up the esek on the right and the lulav on the left. What are you going to do? You're going to swap around. Now, if you got a really big esek, what's going to happen? You're going to drop the esek. That is why the esek can't be so big. Zimnin de machlef up to the second of the wide lines, but sometimes by mistake hold of the wrong hands, you swap them. And you try and swap them around. Comes to possible. So okay, we've established that Rabbi Yehuda does not hold of hodor. The Torah says hodor. Ansmahu hador bilonim lishana that the esek has to stay on the tree from year to year, and the swigim kalas for years. And again, in North Kedumim, if you ever go there, it's about 20 minutes drive from Modi'in. It's got a beautiful park that still exists. It was there 15 years ago. And there they show you that the swing grow for years and years. It doesn't take, you can have an esrog going 4 or 5 years. It's not like a normal fruit, right? Figs don't last more than that. You can't, they won't go to the next year. Oranges, esrogim. If you take a lulav dachas, it is possible. Possible. But lulav you shouldn't take a lulav of a zor, not if you did kosher. The halacha is that anything which is used for avodah zarah is asa behano. It's asa behano. You're not allowed to get pleasure. So I ask you a question: how can you take a lulav of avodah zarah? It's asa behano. What's the answer? Very good. Rashi says that. That means even though I'm not allowed to get pleasure from this lulav, that's not a pleasure. Shaking the mitzvah is not a pleasure. So that replies. So the question is, why lechatchila can you not take a lulav of avodah zarah? What's wrong if it's mitzvah? What's the problem taking a lulav of avodah zarah? It's most. It's a bit off-putting to take a little bit of zon. So it's a not, but it's okay. So the Gemara asks the question. Rava says avodah zon lula, but is okay. And here it says shlasheo v'shalei anidachas. By the way, it's tutzvashe anidachas. So therefore, the Torah says not to use, and there the Torah says no good, and here it says it's okay. And it's that you have to burn it and destroy it. The Mishnah mentions that both in the same breath. The halacha was that when Klal Yisrael came into Eretz Yisrael, they had a mitzvah to destroy every tree of avodah zarah, and therefore, since a lulav that comes from such a tree, you've got a mitzvah to destroy it. It's as if it is less than the shear. Since it's less than the shear, it is no good. There's a big question about, for example, can you use schach of a shear of Oyanidachas? What would you say? A shear of Oyanidachas can use the schach? Big lachlekus in the first comment. I tell you. What?
The schach itself is mitzvah.
Why not?
That's quite a change.
What?
Because it's too high. It's
That's
not,
right.
as in the lulav has to be used for the mitzvah, not.
And it could be. Well, I saw one sort of ancient, very more subtle swore is that a lulav is a minimum size. Schach, it is true that it has to provide shade, but there's no din that it has to have a size. The whole concept, what's wrong with a lulav from the dachas is because it needs to be burned. We look at it as if it's already been burnt and therefore it's not the right size. But something where there's no din sheer size to it, okay, well, let's kind of Nikta Moishe. We're going now to the halachas of the lulav. And Mishnah says that if the top of it has been cut off, it is possible. We mentioned there Rashi and Tesis on the beginning of the Perek. What exactly is Nikta Moishe? Tesis there mentions that it's referring to the middle two leaves, and then Tesis says maybe it's referring to the majority of the leaves. Okay. If it's spear means that the leaf has been like torn a little bit. Not a brilliant picture over here, but I'll just show it for a little bit if you can see it. You see the leaf has been torn. Torn leaves, that's okay.
Oh, the top later split then.
Well, how would you call it?
No, the top leaf.
Oh, later was going to be where it's separated. That's where the leaves open. This is like where the leaves are not cut off, but they just split. Pretty well, but this that kosher is that true. Tanya, we heard the price a lulav kofuf, a lulav which is bent over. Rashi says, look at bottom Rashi and Amdala from the base. Moishe kofuf ka'agman bent over like an agman, which is a bulrush, kind of bush. Diminish given like a hunchback, the azokin like an old person. Shoroshen shochid the matter, a hunchback lulav. So this is a hunchback lulav, by the way. If you want to see a hunchback lulav, this is a apostle lulav, by the way. This is a apostle lulav. Now, I was very happy to see, if you look over here, that, look at this lulav. Would you say that's also possible? But you see, it's a tiny bit of the top leaf, is a tiny bit bent.
Yeah, maybe.
Yes.
Sharp.
You see many lulavim like that.
Millimeters. All right.
Millimeters, and it's only the leaf, not the actual lulav itself. The stifler holds it's okay. Now, those who get nervous and therefore they don't buy the lulav unless and it's not easy to find such a. Okay, the next one, coverts. Coverts is like quite a few explanations of coverts means. Rashi says thorns come out of the lulav, and they got a picture. Again, not a brilliant picture personally, but if you look very carefully, there are thorns coming out of the lulav. That is how Rashi explains it. Tesis says it means dried out. It's a very short Tesis. It is towards the bottom of the page. Mamish at the bottom of the page of Lamed Beis Amud Aleph. Lamed Beis Amud Aleph, right at the bottom. It's got thorns coming out. It says to Tesis, in smisa. Smisa means it's shriveled up, a shriveled up lulav. So that's the second kind of lulav which is processed. One which is a hunchback, one which is shriveled. Sodok means split, which is what we said a minute ago is what? Is okay. Here it says it's no good. Okum. If it is okum dimana magol, it looks like a sickle. That means it doesn't go straight up, it goes like this, like question mark. Possum. It is pos. Chavos. If it is a, look at this, I don't know, right, a palm frond. Many people use it actually for schach. But it's basically, what happens is if you leave the lulav on the tree long enough, it opens more. If it's just starting to open up, kosher, it is kosher. So we see Lamaisa, what do we see? We see over here that split is no good. And Rava said earlier, Ravuna said earlier, it's okay. When we said it's split, that it's no good, is when the lulav looks like a capital Y. Right? Do you see a capital Y? Everybody know what capital Y looks like? It's opened up, and Rashi says, there's a whole explanation about it. It is made as if a metal with two pronged metal, which certain tools are made in that shape. So that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about a normal, what's the word for it? That is what we're talking about when it's possible. But if it's just a little bit split, it's okay. Okum dimila magol. If it looks like a bit like a sickle, like a thing, it's no good. We say, that means like this. If it is, we look at the spine of the lulav as if that is the back of the lulav. Just like your spine is on your back, the shedra is considered to be the spine. So if it's bending backwards, it means it's bending here. Here is a lulav which is bent, completely bent lulav, right? So you can see here it's bent. So now it says the halacha that depends where it's bent. If it is bent forwards, that's no good. If it's bent backwards, it is okay. In fact, if you look at the lulavim, my father every time he goes, the first thing he does is picks up the lulav to see how straight it is. Many lulavim are not very straight at all. Not like, and the mice will see that having the straighter is a mile in it. Okay. When it's studding to the sides, fun of dummy. Some say it's like in front, and therefore it is no good. And some say it's like to the back, and it is okay. So it's a machlekas, we are machmir not to take a lulav which is bent. The only one we allow is if it's bent backwards, meaning if you hold the spine and the top of the lulav comes towards you, that's okay. If you hold it and the top of the lulav goes forward, or the top of the lulav goes to the right or to the left, you've got yourself a problem with this lulav. Lulav that only has one leaf, it's a bar mum and it's no good. What does it mean that it's only got one leaf? There are many explanations. We'll just say three. One which is very machmir and causes a huge hassle. Rashi's explanation of one leaf is that the lulav is a spine and only leaves are only going on one side, not any on the other side. That is very, very rare. I have never seen such a lulav. Right? Another kind of lulav, says the Tosfos, it doesn't bring it in this picture for some reason, is one where every leaf, instead of being double, it's a single leaf. Every lulav leaf is double. That again is very, very rare. I don't think I've ever seen. But what the Harvey shouldn't have mentioned is the Mamma and others that we're talking about a lulav where one leaf is long and one leaf is short. And therefore, what happens is there's areas where you only get to see one half of the leaf. And that, if you look very carefully at the top of lulavim, many lulavim do not finish exactly. That means the middle leaf, it goes a bit like this. And there are those who hold that it's not good. Certainly not the most mahuda. Again, to find one without this problem is quite a struggle. Okay. What?
So you can find one with exactly the same.
It's very difficult. Yeah, pay more. Nifutsu alav chulu. Amar Papa nifutsu david kechufya. Nifutsu means that the leaves are falling off and you bind them together, you make them like a broom. Nifutu, difutu, apaldu, that they opened up like this. Got many, many pictures of it where it's completely opened up. So that is a problem of a, that's no good.
Another thing as we mentioned before, the whole like a palm.
Yeah, it's not mamish. It's similar. Here, it's when it's actually become a proper branch is coming off. Here, it's just become like it's less. It's a stage before. What happens if the middle leaf is split open? And here there's a thesis which is worthwhile to read, because when you see people looking with a magnifying glass, you say to them, I just want to read you a thesis to make you more relaxed. Look at this thesis. It is the third bottom thesis. It's right at the bottom, 5-6 lines at the bottom. It doesn't mean that the leaves at the top of the lulav have opened up. The kulu hochi islu, says Tosfos. All lulavim are open at the top. You heard such a thing in Tosfos? All lulavim are open at the top. Elok, the first bekunsh, meaning like this. When you look at the we said it, you've got a spine and the leaves that come on top of it. If you go all the way down, all the way into where the spine area is, and there it's open, that is the shaila of the Gemara. That means when it's opened up, not just at the top, where it's the very top, but it's opened up all the way to actually into the spine. But I'm afraid to tell you that the Ran doesn't agree with it. And the Ran holds that even if it's only open at the top, could be a problem.
How much?
Oh, he says a tefach. Okay, tefach is like that.
So why are we so machmir to look for even the millimeter?
Because the Taz says that once it's opened a bit, experience has shown us that it opens up more and more. But as I said to you, it's interesting to read the words of Tosfos. The Tosfos says all of them are like that. All of them are like that. Okay. So the Maisa, Let's just get it together. So what's the shaila? If the tumus is missing, it's possible. Is it not the same halacha if it's split? If it's missing, it's much worse because it's missing. And according to this version, if the tumus is split, as this explains, it's split all the way down to the spine, it is possible because it is a chison in the lulav. Okay. This is a lulav which is opened and opened and opened. Says Rabbi Yehuda, what should you do? Just bound it together. The world brings advice, which we actually mentioned very briefly. Many times we mentioned the Torah doesn't put vowels, therefore we can add in our own vowels. So we can read it as the word kofus. Kofus means tied up. Rashi this week's parsha, beginning of the parsha, shifting the shoitim. Rashi says, what is the job of the shoiter? He ties people up to this, and beats them by the mouth of the judges. So kofus means to tie people up. Kofus. If it separates, you should tie it up. Okay. We're going to have this similar style Gemara in a number of cases. The Torah tells us you should take 4 things, right? Now, none of them, the Torah says the exact really thing what it is, how many and what. Now, we know but the Gemara always tries to see how could we work it out from the Pasuk. It doesn't mean that till then nobody knew what to take. Everybody knew what you were supposed to take. The Gemara's shaila is only where do we see it from the words of the Pasuk. So let's see the Gemara. Maybe we need a chavusa. Chavusa, I had a nice picture of it before. Oh, this is a chavusa. I showed it to you before. It's what's a good word for it in English? Anybody want to give me a good English word? Oh, palm frond.
Hardened branch.
Hardened branch. No. What would you call this if I was saying I'm selling you this? What would you sell it? What would you call it? For your schach, not for your lulav. It's a very beautiful schach. Why would you buy it? What?
It's worth hundreds of pounds.
Yes. What called it? Yeah, it's very nice schach. It's much more beautiful than the thing, than the bamboo. So he said maybe you should take a chos. So he said, put in on kofus veleka. The Torah says kofus means bound up. This is not bound up, it's open up in all directions. Says, well, it says, okay, if not that, veima ufsa. Ufsa just means an actual branch. Take the trunk of the tree. That is really bound together. You can't get more bound than that. Because that is literally one big piece of wood. They said, no. The fact that it said it should be bound means that it's got a possibility to be open. The trunk of the tree can't possibly be open. It's just one log of wood. A log of wood is not bound. A log of wood is just one stick, is one piece. This is very tied up. It's nothing to tie up. Maybe it's the shoot that grows at the very bottom of the palm tree. The words of Torah are peaceful, and these shoots are very full of thorns and prickles, and it's hard enough without lulav that every so often you put in the knot of the thing on, every so often they poke into you. And sometimes, can you imagine we had to take a shoot? The Torah obviously can't be that. Maybe take 2 bunches of dates. Kapus tomon can be in a bunch of dates. So that's what it says, maybe take 2 bunches of dates. So what says kapas ksiv, even though we read it kapois, plural, kapas is red is in the singular. So take 1 bunch of dates. That's called a kaf, not a kapois. So you've got different explanations. Oh, here's a little bit. Here they've got bunches of dates. Can you see bunches of dates? So the question, why not take 2 bunches of dates? One says that's called kapas, not kapois. And here's ufsa. Ufsa is the actual wood of the date tree. And why do we take the actual wood of the date tree? Because it's one thing and there's no possibility of it being split. With very, very short leaves. But it says the Mishnah that it is kosher on condition that what says about that each leaf reaches the next leaf. So here you've got a picture of it. Very small, very easy to understand. Now, our olavim, the leaves overlap 99%, and each leaf only goes a tiny bit more. The Sinai Balza is kosher only if they overlap a little bit. Tani nami hochi, Sinai Balza pasula, banont nan kasheo. And a shmamino kabaya is a proof to abaya. Shmamino is a proof that when is it kosher is when they overlap, and when is it pasul, then they don't overlap. Here I've even got you a picture when they don't overlap. Can you see? If you look very carefully, the leaves are very short, and each leaf doesn't reach the next leaf. So therefore, it is possible. Okay. The top line with base on the base, top line. Now the more just exactly the same thing as a buyer, but just instead of saying as a buyer came up with halacha and then we prove it from the contradiction in prices, what we do now is we ask as a stira and a buyer. It's exactly the same thing. Just did that buyer come up with the halacha, or was a buyer coming to answer a contradiction? Make it as a contradiction. Now, and it says, now, Basel kosher, but Tanya Psula Bices Posel, or my Bale Kasha can show she's the Magilla Tadik there, where the top of this one reaches the bottom, the root of the next one. Can she Moshe's the Magilla Tadik there, it doesn't reach the bottom. So it depends if it reaches the root or not, and you have to make sure that your load of leaves at least reach the next one. There are two dates, Yesh, Begay Ben Henam. There's a valley next to Yerushalayim, which is called Gay. Gay means a valley. Ben Henam was the name of a person, actually. Smoke comes out from them, and they would grow these date trees. It's an entrance to Gehenna. Right. The Gemara tells us that there are three entrances. What's that? Three entrances to Gehenna. Anybody know the three entrances to Gehenna? Yes, one in the desert, one is in the sea, and one is in the entrance to Yerushalayim. One said over, this is one of the entrances. One of the entrances is the entrance to Yerushalayim, and therefore, the idea being there are three reasons why people rebel against Hashem and end up in Gehenna. One is a desert. A desert is a symbol of complete emptiness. Nothing can grow, no life in it. When a person struggles financially terribly, sometimes it makes them give up on serving Hashem. The second thing is the sea. Sea is always used as a concept of affluence, of wealth, because the sea is thriving with life. The sea is a tremendous water, is always considered life. When a person has a very, very, very lot, then what happens is he gets so caught up in the pleasures of this world that can end up getting an entrance again. There's one more entrance again. There are those that use religion as a way that they are L'Shem Shemaim, and they don't realize they're doing something wrong because they think they're doing L'Shem Shemaim. So in the search to believe they're doing L'Shem Shemaim, the people, you think about what Torah Avos people do, and they do it all in the name of L'Shem Shemaim. So that the entrance of Yerushalayim, people think they're going to the right place, there's an entrance to Gehenna, because many times people are going there, but they're going for the wrong reasons, wrong acts. And that's another entrance to Gehenna. And that entrance would be these date trees, which should have very short leaves. Okay. The Mishnah says, "Lulav shesh b'shloisha tefachim bechitel ena'anei abo." You have to have 3 tefachim and to shake it. Omar v'du mashmol she'ah das ba'avava shloisha has to be 3 tefachim. How much is 3 tefachim? How much?
24 centimeters.
Oh, so you say like v'chaim no 24, and you say like the Chazon Ish 30 centimeters. So you obviously hold like the Chazon Ish or machmir, and he goes like v'chaim no. So you've already got the 2 people. What?
He's too great.
Yeah. Yes, I know. What the Chazon Ish or v'chaim no. So when you buy an adas, really you should try and measure at least 30 just to be on the safe side of Chazon Ish. But Ma'aseh v'chaim no would say to you it's enough to have 24 centimeters. Yeah, so what I do is I take a tape measure and I look on the, if you're back, you can see nowadays, if you get a good quality, it's always more.
Does it have to be sticking out the bundle?
No.
When you stick it in?
No, nothing, that's fine. Oh, the lulav arbo. And the lulav asked before, which is either 40 centimeters or 32 centimeters, depends who you want to hold back. In order the lulav should be a tefach higher than the adas. That's the question. If the lulav and the adas is the same height, why did you say that the lulav should be a tefach above the adas? Why didn't you say that the lulav should be a tefach above the arava? Very good. The halacha is, the minhag is that we always do the adas a tiny bit higher than the arava. That's 3, that's 2. So the point is, so we want the lulav to be a tefach higher than the hadas, not the arava. Okay. He holds exactly the same thing with one extra chumrah, which is what? It's not enough that the leaves of the lulav should be a tefach higher, but the spine has to be a tefach higher. Now the world's going to discuss this question again and again, but basically it's a very simple question. Do you need the spine of the lulav a tefach higher or the leaves of the lulav a tefach higher? So Mishnah, the more brings not. Mishnah says the lulav shesh b'shlosh tzvachim t'lenanei boy kosher. A lulav has got 3 tzvachim in order to shake it. It's kosher. Now this is kosher a question according to everybody. It says only 3 tzvachim. It has nothing about 4. Answers the Gemara. What does the Mishnah mean? Not 3 tvachim to shake it, but 3 tvachim and you can shake it. You need to have both 3 tvachim plus a tefach to hold it to shake it. When the Mishnah says 3 tvachim to shake it, it means 3 tvachim plus another tefach to shake it. So you have to have 4 tvachim. And more explains, market isle, one man like he holds a tefach of leaf. Another man says a tefach of what? Of spine.
So the three talking of spine or lulav.
So you need to have, that's the machlekas. That will be the machlekas. One man holds you have to have 4 tvachim of spine. Another man says, no, you don't have 4 tvachim of spine. You can have 4 tvachim of leaf. And even if it's less than 4 tvachim of spine, it's also kosher. My love is not pashtus. This simple way of reading it is that lulav is 4. The alin, it's referring to including the leaves because the lulav always has leaves and it says 4. It doesn't mention anything about the spine. Is a right that you don't need to have 4 tvachim of spine. No, levad ma'alin, it's referring to 4 leaves of spine. That means you can't prove from this price, even though the mashmos, the simple reading of the price is 4 tvachim without that aspect. Right, so yeah, so here they show you a picture of the spine of the lulav being a tefach higher than the dasman nawas. The actual spine of the lulav, and you should try and make sure to make sure that the spine. And this is the other bad dogma that doesn't require that the spine should be higher. He says even if the leaves are higher, so as long as the leaves are tefach higher, that's also okay. Okay, let's go to the weiter. Gufa. Sorry. So that's going to get smaller. Most of the lulav nowadays, I don't think I've ever seen lulav, normal lulav. I mentioned, also once came in to show people a small lulav, but 95%, 99% of all lulavim are 4 tvachim long. Only if they're only 5, 6 tvachim. Just know that the Chabad says that you have to be mahadar in Yarba minim. What is the most basic din of Hiddur? Does anybody know? No? Big. It should be big. There was a Rav I knew very well, actually. Yes. Every year he would go to the cellar and he would very say, I just want your longest lulav. And every year I used to watch him on Succas, banging this. Yeah, they always the longest. And they always get the longest because that is the Mechaber's first example of what is Hiddur. Big. Interesting. No, many people are not aware. Maybe people get the other Hiddurim. But nice.
Hiddur is nice. I mean,
the Mechaber says what is nice. The Mechaber says Godel is the first example of it.
It's not relative to, it's not your own subjective.
I mean, what you think it's beautiful? No. It's what the Mechaber says. That's
just for lulav sizes.
All of them. You get everything big, but yeah, all of it's easy. Yes, also by esrog, there's a big Indian to get a big esrog. The problem, Morocco is much better for that. The problem with a big esrog is it's almost impossible to find one which is clean and big. It means what happens is the smaller the esrogim, the less chance they'll have these round blocks. That's right. And also there's less area, surface area. It seems, by the way, that a lot of these brown dots are not coming from the actual esrog itself. It seems that what happens is the leaves touch them, and also the bees deposit some there. I don't know. Okay. Das over 3, lulav 4, like we all know. With an ammo of 5 tvachim. This requires a little bit of mathematics. That you have to have an ammo of 5 tvachim. What does it mean, an ammo of 5 tvachim? So the simple explanation, the Gemara understood that he held that you have to have the hadasim and aravas, not 3 tvachim, but 5 tvachim, a full ammo. Now we know that an ammo usually has 6 tvachim, but certain ammos were made out of 5 tvachim. Surely Hashem should forgive him. Why should Hashem forgive him? We can barely find hadasim which are 3 tvachim long, bas chamisha tvachim, we can't find such hadasim. We're struggling to find a dasim 3 tvachim long, and he's now telling us there are 5 tvachim. But Hashem should forgive him, Taf. He also Abdimi explained that Taf never, you misunderstood him. Taf never said you have to have 5 tvachim long. You misunderstood it. He didn't mean the size of that dasim always has to be 5. He meant you have to have 3 tvachim, but from what kind of size ammo, the ammo should be an ammo of 5 tvachim. That means he's not arguing with that halacha that the dasim always should be 3 tvachim. He's only arguing 3 tvachim from what kind of ammo. But Tafin says from an ammo of 5 tvachim, an ammo of 6 tvachim. What would you say is bigger? 3 tvachim from an ammo which is made out of 5 tvachim, or an ammo made out of 6 tvachim? 5. Very good. Why? Let's say an ammo is like has 60 centimeters, easy to divide. So then 6 tvachim would be 10 centimeters thing. So if you have to have 3 tvachim, how long would they have to be? It's 30 centimeters. If you split the ammo into 5, each tefach is going to be 12 centimeters. So your dasim and Rava is going to have to be 36. So Tafim wasn't being machmir as much as Rava believed him to be machmir that you have to have 5 tvachim. It would only be machmir from 30 to 36. Let's see the Gemara inside.
Maybe change the ammo also.
Oh, very good. The Gemara suggests that. It's very good. Very good. He also have dimi. Oma, ammo bas shisha tvachim. Take an ammo of 6 tvachim. Aseo sebas chamisha. Split it into 5. Semen shlosh ladas v'ashal lulav. Kama avalu. To loss of a tosel chumshi. It'll come out to 3 3/5. That means if you work it out, 3 3/5 of a normal ammo would be 3 tvachim over 5 tvachim ammo. Now Moishe, we said 36 centimeters. 30 plus 6, the 6 centimeters, 3/5 of another tefach. So therefore, you're not changing it that much. Instead, it's 3 3/5 of a normal one. The Gemara, kasha tishmor adishmor. It's problematic. Why? Here he says, how should the das be 3 tvachim? We pass like tafel. If we pass like tafel, how big does that das always have to be? 3 3/5. So how can he pass him that 3 tvachim is enough? He says, well, loydok, he wasn't being precise. You can't be imprecise. And if you say 3 tvachim is meant to be 3 3/6, you're being imprecise, but you're being too makeover. Says the Gemara, ki osa vovin, Omar, the other way, like you were saying. Ammo bas chamisha tvachim b'aseh shisha. Take a different kind of ammo. And ammo which is 5 tvachim, which is how many centimeters according to Chazon Ish? 50 centimeters. Split, yes, the ammo of 5 tvachim would be 50 centimeters because it's a different kind of ammo. And then split that into 6, aseh shisha. Split an ammo of 50 centimeters into 6. How much would each tefach be now? Just over 8 centimeters, 8.3 or something. Now, split it to 6. If you work it out, it'll come out to be 2.5 tvachim. Because if you take 60 centimeters, 50 centimeters, divide it into 6, and then take half of that for your lulav, for our ravas and your hadasim, is exactly a half of 5 tvachim, which is 2.5 tvachim, which comes out less. Says, well, Sev Kasha to Shmuel, it's contradiction to Shmuel. Says, well, Loidok is being imprecise. That means he was saying you have to have 3 tvachim, but he was being imprecise. That you have to have 3 tvachim. The Chabad Maisa ignores all of this. Although the Rif mentions it a little bit, but the Shulchan Aruch ignores this whole sugya. And the Shulchan Aruch says, how big should a dasim harvest be? 3 tvachim. Even though we pass like Tafel, the Shmuel says pass like Tafel. And Tafel has a very, very complicated cheshbon. But the answer is, we are not really sure what Tafel meant when he said a 5 tvachim. And the fact is that one should be aware that if you cannot get one of 3 tvachim, you've got one of 2.5 tvachim, then it's very, very likely that it's completely kosher. Because Shmuel and Maisa passes like Tafel. And according to the last version of the Gemara, when we said Tafel Shitta, what's Tafel Shitta? It's 2.5 tvachim. And in fact, there are those, as Bikuri Yaakov and others, that talk about a person who's struggling to find a kosher adasim, that if he's got 2.5, he shouldn't worry about it. It is kosher, he can even make a bracha, etc. But the Maisa nowadays, it's not hard to find the 3 tvachim. Now we'll finish the halachas. We're going to the halacha of hadasim. Hadassah goes a stolen one by Yovesh, if it's dried out, possible. Shel Hashiv, Shel Nidachas, possible. Why is it possible? It's not the right shir. No, Shashel Dachas. Again, we start off. Stolen, why stolen one no good? It's not lochem. Kachtem lochem. Yovesh, why is it no good? It's not hodor. Shashel Dachas is the wrong shear because since you have to burn it. Nikta Moishe, if the head of it got cut off, if it's all off, the leaves fell off, or Shanov movies fall off. If it's got more berries than the leaves, possible. Why if it's got more berries than leaves is a possible? It's not hodor. It doesn't look nice. It doesn't look nice. If you take off the berries, it's kosher. You're not allowed to take it off on Yom Tov. Why not allowed to take it off on Yom Tov? No, it's not koitza because the das has already been plucked before. It's fixing. Tikkun mona. Says obvious. That the leaves cover the wood. The dasim have got very, very thick leaves, right? If you see a picture over here, you can't even see the stalk of the hadas because the leaves are covering it. It's not like an avova, for example, you see the stalk and there's a bit of leaves. It covers it. It seems that the olive tree also has a lot of leaves. So maybe we should take an olive tree branch. It says, well, but in on ovois. Ovois is plated. Plated means you've got 3 leaves intertwined. When you make a rope, you take 3 and you twine them together. The dasim have 2 things. They cover the stalk, plus there are ovois, which is plated, meaning that the 3 leaves are intertwined and there are triple leaves all the time. Maybe dulva. So I'm not sure which tree. The other translator is chestnut. The other translator is a different ash. There is a different branch which has both things, by the way. It covers the thing. No, sorry. It's plated, but it doesn't cover. It says, well, it doesn't cover the branch because it's not got a lot of leaves. Where it has the leaves, they're threefold, but it doesn't have leaves across the entire. Maybe it's hilduf, which is a kind of poisonous branch. It's not beautiful to have something which is poison. We look for peace, and having poisonous branches is not peaceful. There are many poskim that grapple with the following question. It's a difficult question, again, to give you OCD. That's the aim of this shir, to get you all nervous. That's not the aim of this shir. The aim of the shir is they should get relaxed. But the Maisa, there is something which niggles, and that is like this. There are certain adasim where if you find they're very nice, but you can actually see the stalk because they are generally, but not always do the leaves cover the stalk. 80%, 90%, but not always do the leaves cover the stalk. And the question is, the Gemara says 2 things about that dasim. What are the 2 things? That they're plated and that they cover the stalk, and that's why nothing else works. So the question is, what about an hadas which is not covering the branch? Is it okay or not? Very good. To explain a bit better. It's like this. Most of the places Yaakov says it's okay. So like, why is it okay? The Torah was just specifying which particular species were supposed to be taken. It's the species which normally covers the branch and is plated. But the fact that this particular branch doesn't make it possible because it's that is the species. The fact, for example, let's say you've got an esrog that came off the tree before you. So what do you say?
Is that not an issue of hodor then? Yes, it's halachically okay, but it's
No,
not hodor,
because not. If we don't have in the Rishonim that's called hodor, it's not a problem. Very good. Oh, there are those who are mach. So the Maisa, you can be makol. Most of the poskim, the vast majority of the poskim say it's okay. There's a few that say that it's better not. Should stop here. Let's do a tiny bit more. Talk about the kuluak clear that it is to intertwine like a rope. But and it looks like a shalsheles is a chain. Zoadas. It's always the leaf of the branch of the hadas tastes the same. They both give off the same smell. They both have the same taste, and therefore it's the same. So it's always kosher. It's always possible. If it's got 3, if it's twined, it's okay. If not. It's got three leaves. Everywhere is 3 leaves. Even if it's only got 2 on 1, 2 here, 1 higher, that's also okay. It says, well, it's a very strange Gemara. It's fascinating Gemara. That you always looked for hadas which had 2 on 1. Even though I've kind of never said that. So I've kind of just said it's okay, but it's okay. But since Rav Kahana said it's okay, he had such comments with Rebbe, he said it's okay. He called it a das shoita, and that's no good, and you cannot use it. So therefore, you've got over here that you shouldn't use it, right? Right. This is Trey Vachad. Also, brilliant pictures over here. We're going to stop here. 2 leaves in one place, one coming up from another place, and according to the Gemara says, oh, let's just see where we're up to. We're up to Tonu Rabbanon. That's just 4 lines from the bottom. Today went a bit over time. Okay, right. Nice to see everybody. Nice to see you. And everybody who's still away should enjoy their thing. A lot of interesting halachas, a very lot of interesting halachas. If you spend so much money on your Arab Minim, it's nice to know what you're paying for.
So this year we can come to you for.
No, what you would do is that I want to hear you should pass. I want people. I'll come to you after you've learned the sugyas. You want to tell me what to do, which I'm going to buy. Oh, that's how we should really think, right?